Welcome to Talking Wildfire with Michael Hill, School of Fire podcast number 5. Today we'll be discussing native fire, and this article was originally written for Wildfire magazine in 2015, but not published. This was a great article, however, spotlighting a rarely talked about subject of fire, and its title is Native Fire. All of us who have spent large amounts of time in the outdoors have come to know the importance of knowing how to get a fire going when needed. Camping and campfires may seem to go hand in hand to us today, but the ability to make a fire for much of human history has been the fine line between life and death. Fires used to keep warm on chilly nights. Fires' heat used to cook meals, which otherwise could cause deadly food poisoning. Fires' light to keep predators away. Fires to hunt with, to clear thickly vegetated hunting and farming areas, or just to be used as a weapon against your enemies. Fires were, and still are, a major tool of mankind, but have you thought about how you yourself could get one started without any modern advantages if your life depended on it? Mankind's history can be marked with major technological leaps, such as the first steam engine, electricity, automobiles, cell phones, and computers, but one of the greatest advances of all times towards the success of our species has to have been the independent production of fire. To discover how this was done, I did a survey into traditional native fire-making skills globally, and at its core, one dominant practice stands out from historic times. This invention was the spread of the fire drill. It is a very simple but yet complex skill, and its mastery has been very important to the human journey. 2 pieces of wood are needed in the process, a thin stick to be used as the drill, and a flat chunk of dry, decaying wood, such as juniper or white maple, as your hearth. On the surface of the hearth, a tiny side notch is cut into the side of the cavity, where the bottom end of the drill will be spun against. This notch is made to catch the friction dust that will be created. The process is then begun with both palms of one hand placed on either side of the upper end of the drill stick. The palms placed together over the stick are rubbed quickly forward and backwards while using a strong downward pressure as the hands slide down the surface of the drill, creating a drilling motion into the cavity of the hearthwood. Once the palms have moved down the drill, they are raised again in one motion, and the sequence is repeated over and over. Dust from the friction created, collecting in the cavity's notch side, is soon heated by the process until it begins to smoke and a new fire is born. This is how fire was made for many generations on the lands around us, across Australia, the Americas, Africa, and parts of Asia. There were other ways that have been used to create fire as well. Fire embers were gathered and transported for later use from natural started fires and other indigenous local developments in other native areas. The Chinese, Malay, Burmese, and some Aboriginal groups of Australia made their fires by sawing pieces of bamboo together until ignition of the friction dust was created, while also using, in some places, fire pump drills and the fire bow. Pacific Islanders and some other Aboriginal groups influenced by them would take a hard stick and pressing down firmly against the inside of a dried split piece of bamboo and repeating until fire was achieved. Pyrite, flint, and steel were used in other areas, as were various adaptations of the basic fire drill method with the additions of bowstrings, bows, and mouthpieces for the native peoples of the world's far harsher environments of the north, or such as the unique and fairly complex fire pump drills as used by the Iroquois of America. Creating fire out of the simple tools we can find around us back then, as well as now, takes knowledge, practice, and effort. Today, to make a fire without matches, a fusee, or a lighter may be a skill that has lost its relevance to much of mankind around us as we go about our lives surrounded by automobiles, cell phones, and computers, but once not very long ago, it was the skill that surely meant the difference between life and death. This simple skill to harness the flame has also been one of the defining advances that have made us successful here on the planet-wide scale as we have been. If you have gotten anything out of today's School of Fire podcast, please share this with a friend or work colleague and leave a comment below. Be safe out there.